Hello everyone. In this video, I will go over my solution to the problem named the least round way. This problem is taken from Codeforce's beta round number 2 and is rated 2000. This problem is an interesting problem on GridDP and how GridDP can be used to solve math problems. So let's look at the problem statement. In this problem, we are given a square matrix of size n by n consisting of non-negative integer numbers. This means each number in the square matrix is greater than or equal to 0. Now we need to start in the upper left cell of the matrix. So we need to start from this cell and we need to go at each step either right or down from the current cell, and we need to end at the bottom right cell. So we need to end over here. Now we need to find a way to traverse this grid such that the product of all the numbers on our path has the least number of zeros in its decimal representation. So this means that we need to output a path in which the product of the numbers in that path has the least number of trailing zeros. So in the input we are given this square grid or matrix of size n by n, and in the output we need to print on the first line the least number of trailing zeros, and in the second line we need to output the way. So in the way we need to output down and right because each way is either down or right. So in the first sample test case we are given a square matrix of size 3 by 3 which contains these numbers 1 to 9 arranged in this way, and the output is 0 because there is a way to find a product in which the number of trailing zeros is 0, and that way is to go down, down, right, right. So in that case the product would be equal to 1 into 4 into 7 into 8 into 9, which does not have any trailing zeros. And the first observation for this problem is that we need to find a way in which we minimize the number of 2s and 5s in the product. And the reason why this is true is because when we look at the decimal representation of a number, so in the prime factorization of the product, let's say that the number resulting is n. So let's take another number m, which is the product of all numbers. Say m is the product. Hence m is 2 to the I into 5 into 3 to the j into 5 to the k into some other prime numbers. So let's say the last prime number is pn or px and to the kx. So if this was k1, k2, k3, then the last prime factor is pk raised to kx. So then we realize that the number of trailing zeros is the largest power of A10 in M. So this is the key idea, that the number of trailing zeros in M is the largest power of a 10 in M, and this should be obvious. Hence number of trailing zeros in M is minimum of K1 and K3. So if you want to look at an example, then let's take the example of 2 cubed into 3 squared. 3 actually doesn't matter at all because it does not contribute to the power of 10 into 5 squared. So let's just consider this number. So this number is actually 8 into 9 into 25, and that's equal to 10 squared into 3 into 2, and as you can see the power of 10 is 2, and hence 2 is the number of trailing zeros, and you can also see that 2 is the power of 5. So from this example you should be able to figure out that Actually, the number of trailing zeros in the product is the minimum of the powers of 2 and the power of 5. So based on this observation, the problem reduces to the following. So the new problem is that we need to find a path from the top left to the bottom right, which minimizes the minimum number of powers of 2 and powers of 5. So as you can see, this is the new problem which we have reduced the original problem to. So the question is, how do we do this? First, for each number, let's find the power of 2 and the power of 5, and let's create two new grids, G1 and G2, in which G1 stores the largest power of 2 in each number, and G2 stores the largest power of 5 in each number. Now once we have created these two new grids, let's apply DP to find the min number of 2's and 5's in the path from the top left to the bottom right. So now this is where grid DP comes in, and the idea behind grid DP is that the state is always fixed. So let's say we are applying grid DP on the first grid, G1. So in that case, dp1 of ij is the min number of 2's in the product of a path from the first cell. So let's say that cell is 0, 0. I'm using 0 based indexing here. So the first cell is 0, 0. So from the cell 0, 0 to ij. That's what dp1 of ij is. And similarly, dp2 of ij is the min number of 5's in the product of a path from 0, 0 to ij. Now, how do we compute dp or the dp value? So the dp state is fixed for all grid dp problems, and the dp base cases are also fixed in the sense how will you compute them. So this is the state, and the base cases are dp1 i0 and dp1 0j. So dp1 i0, when we are trying to compute the value of dp1 i0, notice that the column number is 0 and the row number changes. So that's why dp1 i0 would just be dp1 I minus 1 0 plus the number of 2's in the ith column, and dp1 of 0j will be just dp1 of 0 of j minus 1 plus the number of 2's in the j in this current cell, and this is fixed, like there is no casework over here. So just to note that there is no casework here, because you are forced to go from the previous cell to the next cell in the same column. And similarly, you can work out the base cases for dp2 of ij, dp2 i0 and dp2 0j. Now I'll present the transition. The transition is the most important part in grid DP problems because the base cases and the state are always fixed and they are easy to figure out. So for the transition, there are actually two cases in the transition. So let's assume that this is grid 1 and we are trying to calculate the value of dp1 of 1 of 3. So that's basically this cell. We are trying to find the value of dp1 of 1 of 3. There are two cases. So in case 1, we came from I comma j minus 1, and in case 2 we came from I minus 1 comma j, and this is because there are only two types of moves possible, either a down or a right. So if we moved down, that means we must have come from the cell behind it, and if we move to the right from the previous cell, then we must have come from the cell 2 comma 1. So we came from either 1 comma 2, or we came from the cell 0 comma 3, and hence we got these two cases. So in the first case, we have dp1 of ij minus 1, and in the second case, the minimum number of 2's in the product would be dp1 of I minus 1 comma j. And in both cases, we would need to add g1 of ij, where g1 represents the highest power of the 2 in the number at cell ij. So just to remind you that all these values in g1 are the highest powers of 2's, and hence these are the two cases. So now it should be obvious what the recurrence for dp1 ij would be. So hence dp1 of ij is just minimum of dp1 of ij minus 1 plus g1 ij, and dp1 of I minus 1j plus g1 ij. And you can simplify it a bit more, although it's not needed. So you can take out g1 ij common, and because that's the other way to think of taking it out common would be to say that you either came from ij minus 1 or I minus 1j. So these are the two cases, and either ways you need to count the contribution of g1 ij. You have to count the number of powers of 2 in that. So either one of these two recurrences are the same, and this is all that's there in our dp state and in our transition. Now one important thing to note, after we found the value of dp1 ij and dp2 ij, is that we would need to find the final answer, right? So for the final answer, so in the end, we would just output the first number as minimum of dp1 n minus 1 n minus 1 and dp2 of n minus 1 comma n minus 1, because this is the power of 2. Because this is the min of the power of 2 and the power of 5 in the product, and hence we would just output that, because that's the first line of output, the number of trailing zeros. And in the second line, we need to print the way itself. So this is another challenging thing which we should think about. So our new question is, how do we print the way, print the path itself? So the idea in printing the path is that we know if dp1 of n minus 2 of n minus 1 was smaller than dp1 of n minus 1 of n minus 2, then we came from the cell n minus 2 comma n minus 1 instead of the cell n minus 1 comma n minus 2. So this is the whole key idea behind printing of the path subproblem. So at each point from the cell, starting from the cell n minus 1 comma n minus 1, choose, so let's say I is n minus 1 and j is n minus 2. So always choose I minus 1 comma j if dp1 of I minus 1 comma j is is less than dp1 of ij minus 1. Otherwise, choose the cell ij minus 1 to come from to this cell. So basically what we are doing is we are building the path in the backwards order. Since we are building the path backwards, let's say that we had cell ij, and we know we came from cell I minus 1 comma j. This means we need to add the character d to our answer, and otherwise write to our answer. So in case we came from the cell I comma j minus 1, we need to add the character r to our answer, and that's all that's there. So we have a string answer, and finally we need to output answer in the reverse order, because we are backtracking basically from the final cell. And let's just look at the code which illustrates the exact same principle. So there's one small catch which we need to address before we look at the code, and that is, what if there was a cell with a value 0? This is the key question which is left to address, and the reason why this adversely affects the solution is because if there was a 0, this would make the whole product equal to 0, and the number of trailing zeros would become 1 if there was a 0 and we chose to go across that cell. And the way to address this issue would be to assign a value of -1 to 0. So the fix is assign a -1 to a cell with a 0. Now once we assign -1 to the cell with 0, compute dp1 and dp2 in the same way. So by -1 I mean let g1 ij be -1 and g2 of ij be -1, and compute dp1 and dp2 in the same way. Once you have computed dp1 and dp2 in the same way, if we have dp1 of n-1 of n-1, so if we have minimum of dp1 of n-1 of n-1 and dp2 of n-1 and n-1 is greater than 1, then we choose the path with a 0. Otherwise, we choose the path in which dp1 of n-1 of n-1 and in which minimum of these two is the resulting number of trailing zeros. So this is a small fix which we need to take care of in our code. So let's look at the code now. So in the code, first I taken the graph G. So I've actually declared a global variable because the maximum size of n is up to 1000, and there are two graphs, two grids, G1 and G2, and there are two dp values, dp1 and dp2, and this is the position of a 0, iv and jv. So first I take in the grid by looping over 0 to n-1 for each possible position. Then I take in the number, and while that number is greater than 0, basically it's not equal to 0, and the number is divisible by 2, I increment g1 of ij and I divide that number by 2. Similarly, while the original number is divisible by 5 and that number is not equal to 0, I increase g2. So while that is divisible by 5 and not 0, I increase g2 and I divide it by 5. So these two lines basically calculate the value of g1 of ij and g2 of ij by finding the highest power of 2 and the highest power of 5 in the input number. And then if that number is a 0, we initialize the g1 of ij and g2 of ij to be -1, and we just use has is true. Basically, has denotes whether or not the grid has a 0, and we point the location of the 0 to ij. If the grid does not have a 0, this is the main part which I'll explain. If it has a 0, you should be able to figure out on your own because it's essentially the same thing. If the grid does not have a 0, then our initial base case is g1 of 0 0 and dp1 of 0 0 and dp2 of 0 0 is the starting cell itself. So this is the first part of our base case. Then the second part is computing the value for which the column is 0, and the third part is computing the value for which the row is 0. So in both the cases there is no real option because we only have to come from i-1 comma 0, and in this case we only have to come from 0 comma j-1. So this is pretty easy and obvious. Now the main part is this, which is the recursive case. So in the recursion we have dp1 ij is minimum of dp1 ij and dp1 ij -1, These are the two places from which the cell could have come, from which the path could have come, and we add that to G1 ij, and similarly we compute the value of dp2 of ij. Now we have computed the values of, we have computed the dp table, and we would then print out the output. In the output, if dp1 of n minus 1 comma n minus 1 is greater than dp2 of n minus 1 comma n minus 1, we swap them, and this is so that we can have dp1 of n minus 1 comma n minus 1 to be less than or equal to dp2 of n minus 1 comma n minus 1. So without loss of generality we can do this, because they are just the powers of 2's and 5's. In the end we don't need to print the number, we just need to print the path. So it doesn't matter which one is 2 or which one is 5, both are the same to us. So that's why we reverse the two grids. Then we print out the value, because this is the number of trailing zeros. Then our I comma j is n minus 1 comma n minus 1. I have a vector of characters which is called answer, and while the state is while both I comma j are not equal to 0. So another way to write this is while not I is 0 and then j is 0. We do the steps which I showed in the whiteboard. Basically we do, if I is 0 we need to decrease j, and otherwise we need to choose between dp I minus 1j and dp I j minus 1. And similarly if j is 0 then we do I minus minus. So an easier way to write this would be, if I is 0 then we decrement j and we push back a right to our answer. Otherwise if j is 0 we decrement I and we push back down to our answer. And then we know that both I and j are greater than 0, so then we can just do the condition, if dp1 of I minus 1j is less than dp1 of ij minus 1, then we should have come from ij minus 1, and hence we decrement j and push back right. And otherwise we know that dp1 of I minus 1 comma j is better, so we go to that location in the grid and we push back down, and then we just reverse the answer, because we are doing a backtracking process over here. So we reverse the answer and then we print out each value in the answer. And similarly I've done for the case in which there is a 0, which you can verify. And as I told you, if the minimum is greater than or equal to 1 or greater than 1, then we need to go through a 0. So in this case go through the cell with a 0, and you should be able to figure out what the output would be. And similarly in the second case we would go through the cell with the minimum of dp1 and dp2. So let's just submit this code to see that it gets accepted. So there was actually a minor mistake in the code, which is, if I minus 1 comma j is greater, then we need to go to j minus 1, otherwise we need to go to I minus 1. So, and then the code got accepted. So I hope you like this problem and my solution to this problem. As you could see, this problem illustrated the use of dynamic programming in a grid along with some simple number theory. In the next video, I will discuss a slightly harder problem which is rated 1600 and uses 4 DP tables. In this problem there were only 2, but that problem uses 4 DP tables. So if you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and do consider subscribing to my channel for more such content. Thank you.